Boris has been at
Hello everyone and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well. So we have Redent SC. When you have 8 viewers, what's going on? Is everyone sick tonight? Can you hear me in the chat? So this evening we're going to look at we're probably going to watch a video with a Tory MP who has some particular response to Boris Johnson. Hello Susan, I hope you're well. Magister, I hope you're very well too. Hi Paul. Elite Osiris, hi. Rachichana Central, hi. So we'll just wait for some more people to come on the chat and then we can start watching the video. Good, loud and clear, that's great. Nobody with a fever, I hope. 13 on the stream. My stream says 12, I don't know. Maybe somebody has jumped out. Suantize, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation of your name. Welcome. From the Netherlands. Oh, that's great. Always have people all over the world here. Hi, Diano. I hope you're well. No, not missed anything. We've just started. So I'm just waiting for some more people to come online and then we can get to the meat of the live stream tonight. Of course, if you have any questions, post them in the chat and I'll respond to them. We just have a small number at the minute, so I should be able to respond without any problems. And hopefully the super chats are working also tonight. So if you want to send me a super chat, I will ask each of you if you can click the like on the stream. It helps get more people into the stream, so that'd be great. So I'm a teacher, half hoping they'll close the schools. 17 now, yes. Here in Italy, so I don't know if all of you guys know me very well, but here in Italy we have hi from Durham, great. Nevin, welcome. Lee, welcome. Here in Italy they have closed the schools until this, I think it's the 17th, or not next week, but the week after. Nevin from Padua. Very good. You know me. I don't know if we talked before. I'm living in Treviso, so we're neighbors. So here in Italy, they've closed the schools until not next week, the week after. Now, I'm going to give my opinion on that, of course. That's why you're here. I think it's a bad idea. I think what would make more sense would be to carry out controls, checks on kids coming into school. So open the schools, but as kids come into school, I don't know, hold up a thermometer to their heads or whatever, and any sick children send them home. Hi Val. I think that would make more sense than closing the schools. I was speaking to someone today. He has 2 kids who and he's doing hi Killer, welcome to the stream. He has 2 kids and he has sent them to stay with his grandparents, or with their grandparents, his parents, and because he has to do smart working, so he works from home instead of going into the office. And he told me that the company he works for have very strict controls on where he works. For example, the building is quite large. It has 5 or 6 floors, and employees are not allowed to move from one floor to the other. So when they enter in the morning, they go straight to their desk, and they're not allowed to to deviate between the floors. Also, meetings of more than 3 people are not permitted, and the canteen in their office has been completely closed. So people bring food from home. It seems to be a temporary measure, but hopefully it's a temporary measure because it's really disrupting people's lives. How are things where you guys are? Are there any strict controls? Have you noticed any changes? I've noticed that the traffic on the streets is a bit lighter, so that's something positive. But a lot of people are worried about, what's happening later on because it's really damaging the economy here in Italy. How are they locking down towns over there? No, they're not they're not arresting anyone at the moment. There was a town that was locked down near Milan. How many people have died in it? I think it's 100 have died so far in Italy. Now that number might be different, but something interesting is that they're not releasing the ages of the people who have died. Thank you, Killer. Yes, don't be shy. Hit the like button. It helps bring more people into the stream. We had our first death here today. How many weeks do we have before coffee chain Starbucks post losses? Yeah, any type of business where you have people coming in. But my local cafe seems to be doing normal business. I haven't asked them. I might ask them the next time I go in. Have you noticed a difference in foot traffic? Glasgow Case, hi, welcome to the stream. MJ, welcome. If I didn't say welcome before, sorry. 3 cases so far in Scotland. QA Library, I'm still waiting on YouTube to tell me where you live. I live in near Venice in Italy. The very small town called Badoere. It's famous for asparagus. 3 cases in Scotland. I don't understand the panic in Germany in the winter 2017-18. 25,000 people died of the flu. Near pharmacy near me in Spain has run out of masks. I was in the supermarket today, and as you enter, they normally have some special offers, and I noticed they had masks for sale in the special offers section. And I was looking at them, I was like, should I buy them or not? I was like, no, I'm not buying into the hysteria, so I didn't buy any. And when I was walking out of the supermarket, they had hand sanitizer on a shelf. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Small changes at my workplace. Eating more food from home, no meetings, no more Skype meetings. That Skype is okay to use. Wonder why the WHO have not called it a pandemic. 2 in the Republic of Ireland. Karsten, welcome. Disinfectant liquid on the canteen table. Are people panic buying where you are? No, I haven't noticed any panic. The supermarket was quite full today, but I didn't see any panic buying. I did notice some things. For example, I just thought of this I had to buy some vegetables, and those plastic, I don't know what you have in your country, but here in Italy we have these plastic gloves that you put on to handle fruit and vegetables, and I had to ask someone for some fresh ones because all the boxes normally that contain these gloves were empty. Hi Mark. So I was thinking to myself, are people coming in to the supermarket and stealing these gloves for some reason? And then I was looking out for people handling food or bread or whatever without gloves. I was ready to pounce on them. So panic buying, no, I haven't seen any panic buying. See, the thing is, you'll see it in the media because it drives traffic to the media websites or channels. There could be a boom time for home delivery companies. That's a good idea, yeah. But I think it'll be short-lived. I did order some things on Amazon and they haven't arrived yet. I don't know if that's, there's too much online buying and it's slowing down the flow. Corona beer discounted. I feel so sorry for Corona beer. Yeah. God. Hopefully Biden wins the Dem nomination. Hard left socialists are unelectable wherever they're found. Biden could easily beat Trump when with his call for decency and restoration of civility. Spearman, I don't know if I agree with that. Hi, number 9. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Andy. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Anthony C. Welcome to the stream. Can I have a mocha latte with a shot of coronavirus, please? Low-fat steamed milk and a dusted of cocoa powder. My Starbucks place your order on the counter when others can touch it. Spearman, I don't know if Biden can win against Trump. What about, these videos where you see Biden having a meltdown? I've seen these videos where he's repeating himself, or he's mispronouncing things, or he doesn't know where he is, or he's pointing to his wife when he's talking about his sister and things like that. And during the debate when he said, put on the record player, listen to words, that didn't go down very well. I that got me worried a bit about him. Biden is senile. He'll get destroyed. If you compare speeches by Biden, I should keep quiet. If you compare speeches by him in 2008, 2012, and also this year, you see a decline. You see a complete difference in his cognitive skills, in his speaking. He seems sometimes to be on another planet. Joe, you know the thing. Biden is slipping into dementia quicker than Trump is. Yeah, Trump is still has some type of dementia, but he's a few years behind Joe Biden, I'm afraid. Biden is red meat for Trump. His coherency and his past offences with his son's affiliation. We'll come back to Yeah, I did a video on this where I said, hi, Night Raven, welcome to the stream. I don't know if I said hello before. Jesse, welcome. Hi, Richard. I talked about this in a video where I said, look, all Donald Trump has to say is to repeat Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden over and over, and it's going to damage Joe, because how is he going to respond to that? It's different responding to voters who are asking you questions, but to compare that to talking to Donald Trump, to responding to Donald Trump in a debate. Donald Trump is not good giving speeches. But Donald Trump is quite good in debates. Look at the debates back in 2016. In the betting, Bernie Sanders was running a good second behind Trump. Now his odds have totally bombed. So it depends on the next debate. I think there's another debate in a couple of days. And who's going to be on the debate stage? It'll just be Biden, Sanders, and maybe Tulsi Gabbard. So you're going to really see what Joe Biden is made of, because he sort of excels when he doesn't have to speak. When he has to answer questions, he starts, collapsing. And I think if Bernie Sanders goes really hard on this. He stops talking about, yes, Joe is my friend or whatever. If he actually goes hard, he could destroy Biden on the stage, and that could help Bernie Sanders. Could actually turn the boat around a bit. But at the moment, Bernie's in big trouble. USA, no country for old men. The Dems are dead set against Bernie, going into overdrive now. He will mysteriously lose the nomination despite winning the votes again. Yeah, they would prefer, and I was talking about this, I don't know if I was saying it on Twitter or what, the Democrats would prefer to lose with Joe, would prefer to lose than to win, really. And why is that? Because there are so many people who have a job because the Democratic Party exists in its current form. Chelsea is excluded as last I heard. Okay, thanks Killer for that update. Excuse me. So I think there's a chance. What was I saying? I got confused there. I'm like Joe Biden. Damn it, now I've forgotten. I get distracted by the chat. I'm getting old. That's my problem. The Democratic Party exists in a particular way, and there are many people who have a job because of that structure. The idea that you have consultants, you have strategists, you have all of these people working to present a message, to work as an opposition, for example, to Donald Trump or the Republicans. Excuse me, maybe I'm getting coronavirus or something. And it's a good business. Look at the way Donald Trump has been very good for the media since he became president. Every day, if you make on YouTube, if you make videos about Donald Trump in the US, you're going to have a lot of views. Because people are attracted to it, like a car crash. And it works in the same way for the media, attacking Donald Trump. If there's a Democrat in the president's office, in the White House, you're not going to have the same energy. You're not going to be able to raise money in the same way. You set up an organization saying we're against Donald Trump. You're going to get lots of people donating to it. A lot of Democrats, liberals, rich liberals, will give you money. If there's a Democrat in the White House, that business is gone. So for many Democrats, who are in a comfortable position, I'm looking at Bill Maher here, they would actually prefer Donald Trump to remain in office, or they would prefer a Democrat who is not going to rock the boat, who's not going to change the system. Hi Cotton Cat, welcome to the stream. Why does old Reagan's head look too big for his body? So in a moment we're going to watch a video with this Tory MP, which is interesting. So you're going to see me responding to a video in real time, so I hope it's interesting. 5 more states report cases as Trump claims virus has been stopped and will go away. Why is he doing this? I understand that the virus is not something positive, but maybe there's some way he could actually use it to his advantage. But him going around saying, yeah, it's resolved, it's fixed, it's no longer anything to worry about, is just creating a disaster that he's going to walk into. Could you give your opinion on the state of Irish politics right now, 1 month on from a general election and no government formed yet? Yes, I think it's looking likely to be another general election, I'm afraid, Andy, because nobody can form a government. Now, I read recently that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, the two main parties, are trying to form a government themselves, but out of fear that if there is another general election, Sinn Féin will double their vote. There's talk now that if there is a general election again, Sinn Féin would probably or could possibly win a majority. So they have an onus upon them to say, no, maybe we should try and sort something out. But I think there's too much of a gap between the two main parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, to form a coalition. I don't really see many differences, but allegedly there are significant differences between the two. And also, Sinn Féin have run on this message of, the people have decided to change the system. If you don't change it, you're just feeding into the narrative that you are the old and we are the new. And I think even if they did form a coalition, it could eventually collapse, and then that would completely destroy both parties. So they could, if they had a general election now, the damage would be somewhat limited. Somewhat, but not completely. But I think if it went on for too long and the coalition collapsed, then Sinn Féin would have a super majority perhaps. Announced today at 11 confirms some self-isolating. Can you please change the background? Brigand's face is enough to make someone stop watching. The world is dominated by arrogance, self-importance and incompetence. Is there any hope? Analog ground. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think things are going to get worse before they get better. I had a talk with my 83-year-old dad. Always stuff going on in the world, Vietnam War, to Bernard Madoff, etc. Did you see the Jimmy Dore video of Biden's plagiarism? Wow, no, I haven't seen that. I must check that out. Oh, and yes, no, the one of Neil Kinnock. Yeah, that was. So Neil Kinnock gave a speech about his life growing up, and Joe Biden copied it. He just changed the name of the city or the town that Neil Kinnock grew up in. I understand that there wasn't the internet at the time. It was back in the late 80s or early 90s, so there wasn't the internet, so we didn't have access to information so easily. But somebody would eventually get their hands on it. Did he not believe that? Did you hear Max Scotland has made sanitary products free for all women? That's good, because I know that there were also issues, Amazon subsidies until they pay a living wage. More proof Scotland is on a different path to the UK. That's great. So I know that there were also issues of, women in poverty who weren't able to afford them, and something that we don't even think about. Especially if you're a man, I never even consider the cost of sanitary products. And if you're on the breadline, this is a luxury that you can't always you can't go without. I wouldn't even call it a luxury; it's a necessity. No offense, I didn't mean any offense by calling it a luxury, but it's something you need that you can't go without, and it can be sometimes considered a luxury by some. Bill Clinton claims Monica Lewinsky fair was to help anxieties. Oh God. Having hope is being weak. Becoming hope is being strong. Very nice slogan there. Cotton Cat. Are you familiar with Jonathan Haidt? He wrote the book The Righteous Mind and discussed different sets of moral values people have. Thank you very much, Jacobs. Roloff Jacobs. helped me to understand part of the Brexit vote and Brexit rhetoric. Priti Patel, she represents two things: immigration position of populism and hatred and belittling of experts. Do you really think they will drop her in? I think I was watching Phil from A Different Bias today, and he was, I think it was one of the videos he made yesterday, or maybe it was today, I don't remember. But he said one of the reasons Boris Johnson is holding on to her is that everything has changed, because in the past, someone like Priti Patel would be dropped immediately, but Boris Johnson is surrounding himself with people who agree with him, and there's no need for him to drop Priti Patel. I don't know. I think it would make sense. No notification. You were here. You were live, Max. Oh, I'm sorry to see that. YouTube doesn't like me today. There should have been a notification on Twitter if you follow me on Twitter. It's something we don't want to think about. So I was saying about Priti Patel. So I think Boris Johnson should have dropped her because she becomes a distraction. These types of allegations are not isolated, so you're going to hear more and more and more about them. And what Boris Johnson ends up doing, and his cabinet and his party end up doing, is defending her. Now, I guess it could also be a double-edged sword, because if there's a complete and utter disaster happening and Priti Patel is considered a lesser of a disaster and people are focusing on that, well, then maybe it's a good distraction. But I think in the long term, it doesn't help the party, or it doesn't help Boris Johnson. But we're in a new world now where, politics has completely changed since Brexit. Up is down and down is up, and I don't think we can judge politicians and politics in the old ways. When a politician does something bad, they leave, or the party kicks them out. It doesn't seem to be happening today. Most of the right-wing and Brexit supporters simply desire to have an output for their anger, frustration, and aggression. So they actually enjoy to see the government that bullies a group of people. I think you're right there, Sparta. The Tories can do almost anything. They have no viable alternative. Thanks, Max. We love you. Thank you. There is no viable alternative at the moment. And it's a pity I see Jeremy Corbyn shining at the moment. He's passionate at the moment. I've said this before. Jeremy Corbyn is a fantastic attack dog. Someone on the back benches. Someone who doesn't have a particular leadership role. He's good on the back benches. As I said, someone who doesn't have to respond when they attack. And I think he should be moved to the back benches and in the future. And rant and rave, but in a good way. I don't mean any offense to that. I really do not think it's a distraction. It's the new modus operandi. We are in the populist territory now, and the bullying is key to bind your tribe behind you. I have seen this Balkan way of doing politics, and it's quite similar here in Italy. We see the right wing here in Italy attack, and never apologize, never defend. It's always attacking, and they will circle the wagons when one of theirs does something wrong. There was a politician here in the parliament in Italy insulting a black politician, a minister in the last government. One of the last governments. Italy changes government quite often, and the opposition were putting pressure on him to resign, but at the end nothing really happened. I think she eventually took him to court, but I don't remember the outcome. Don't forget to click like. Yes, thank you very much, Sir Antonius. is it likely Italy will go into recession? I hear Italy and Germany are in trouble. I hear Italy and Germany in trouble. Italy has always been in recession. During the crisis in 2007-8, Italy was already in crisis. So it's difficult to go into crisis if you're already in it. But yes, there is talk that Italy's heading towards a crisis, and then this coronavirus is just maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back. Is it the same thing that Berlusconi did? What Lega does and what Trump does? It's quite similar, yes, Sparta. Although Berlusconi is different from Boris. Berlusconi was more someone that people admired in a way because he was rich, and because he's difficult to explain. He's difficult to understand as well. So people admired him, although they knew he was corrupt. While people in the US admire Trump, but when you bring up corruption, they say, no, he's not corrupt. So people, Berlusconi is this weird one, because it was almost, if you brought up corruption, it was like, well, he might as well. Why not? Why not be corrupt? Everyone else is corrupt, so he might as well do it. He's out corrupting the others, and we have to admire that. Thank you, Glasgow Kiss. You're a star. Do you have any crypto? I don't have any crypto, I'm sorry. The like button is far too close to... Sorry, that's Brexit. Okay, so what I'll do is I will start the video. I'll respond to the video. I'd like to hear also your comments. I don't know if any of you have seen this video yet, but let me see. So let me know if you can hear it, because I can hear it, but I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it. Okay, let's move this over here. So the title of this video is We Hold All the Cards.
Boris has been absolutely firm. We've laid out our position. We want a zero tariff, zero quota, super Canada style free trade agreement. But if the EU won't agree to that, which is hugely in the European Union's interest, then we'll accept the same relationship between the UK and the EU that the EU has with Australia, which is basically WTO with some side agreements. We have the upper hand, and it's not really about winning and losing.
Okay, so he says here we have the upper hand, but just a moment. Lack of notifications. I think if you drop a few videos previous in the day, they don't work out on YouTube. Okay. Good audio. Thank you very much, James. So I just want to go back a little bit on what he said.
Agreement, but if the EU won't agree to that, which is hugely in the European Union's interest, then we'll accept the same relationship between the UK and the EU that the EU has with Australia, which is...
Okay, but something I don't understand. So he's saying that so it's in the interest of the EU to accept a deal. But if they don't accept a deal, it's good enough. It's good for us also. Well, then which is better? You can't say a deal is good, but a no deal is also good, because one is automatically better than the other.
Basically, WTO with some side agreements. We have the upper hand, and it's not really about winning and losing.
So we have the upper hand, but it's not about winning and losing. But this is the problem. Is it's presented as a battle. If you look up here, it says, "Will bring us victory." Okay. I don't know if they said like sit in this angle, so we have this image behind you. But okay.
We can't give in to what the European Union really want, which is that we're out of the European Union, but still under all of their rules and regulations. That's not taking back control. It's not what we promised at the referendum. It's not what we promised at the general election. So we have got a mandate to deliver on Boris's negotiation stance.
So this is something I don't understand that he and others have been saying. We have been given a mandate, but the European Union doesn't give a crap about your mandate. And I don't mean that in any offensive way, but the EU gave you, or the MPs have a mandate, okay, in the Parliament, but it's not, the European Union don't care. Okay, you have a mandate. Well, what? That doesn't change our position.
I've got great confidence in our negotiators. Already we've seen major changes that the negotiation is going to happen in our country. They're coming to us. The negotiation is going to take place in English.
Okay, now this is something that I want to talk about, and it's going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. So he has said the negotiations are going to take place in our country. Now, I don't know him very well, and I don't know if he doesn't know this. So there are two possibilities. So what he's saying is false. It's not false, it's true, in the sense that the negotiations will take place in the UK and in Brussels. They're split normally. So the same happened is happening with the United States, or happened with the United States, where you have the negotiations take place in Brussels and Washington. The same with Japan, Brussels and Tokyo. When the European Union is negotiating with another country, they'll split the negotiations in two places. Now, he's claiming this is a victory. But if this is the normal procedure, how is it a victory? Now, maybe he doesn't know this. Maybe he thinks this is something new. I don't believe that, because he's a politician and he should know this. This is not, information that has just, is hidden away and someone like me has discovered it. This is a standard procedure with the European Union. The reason during the last year, during the before Brexit, the British politicians went to Brussels because the UK was part of the European Union. So let's say for a second he's either ignorant, he doesn't know that this is the standard procedure, or he's lying. Now, if he's lying, he's saying this is a victory. So how bad is the situation if you have to claim this as a victory? So if he knows it's a lie, he's lying to someone. Who is he lying to? He's lying to people who don't know, and he's claiming it's a victory. Like if the Brexit negotiations were going very well and Boris was not marking down victories, wouldn't you give a victory that was true, not invent something that was false and pretend that it's a victory? I don't know if I'm making sense here, but he said this is a victory, and then he's saying, this is a victory for us. But if he knows that it's not true, that it's something new, then he's inventing victories and marking it down as a victory for Brexit, which is not a good marker for what the future is going to be. So imagine I'm playing football and you ask me, did you win? I say, well, we won the toss. But that's not... And winning the toss is very important, but not that important. Like, why do you have to invent winning the toss as very important for winning the game? But okay, let's go ahead.
All this is the opening to what I hope will be a very, very successful free trade agreement, and it can be over very, very quickly.
Okay, once again, is he lying because he doesn't know? Sorry, is he telling this because he doesn't know, or is he lying? Because if he's saying it can be over very quickly because he doesn't know, okay, I'm sorry, he doesn't know, he's ignorant of trade negotiations. But if he's lying and saying, this can be over very quickly, and he knows it's a lie, why is he telling lies? Why isn't he honest to people and say, look, it's going to take a while. It's going to be hard, but we're going to, struggle through and we'll get a good result at the end. Why not say that? In that way you're a bit more flexible with the truth. It's probably going to take a while. We don't know how long, but we're going to try and do our best. I think that would be a more honest response than saying, yeah, it'll be over very quickly. Because after a year, people are going to say, but you told us it would be over very quickly.
I spoke to Boris before the general election, and he gave a commitment that no deal, walking away, is still on the table. It has to be, because that's what guarantees we do get a good free trade agreement in the...
But saying we're willing to shoot ourselves in the foot doesn't help the European Union. The European Union are not going to say, well, we better give you a deal because you're willing to shoot yourself in the foot. There's this idea that for people like him, that everything is the same as before. Thank you very much, Terry, for that super chat. Do Brexiteers realise that the UK isn't an empire anymore? I was just about to get to that, and it needs to be part of an economic bloc like the EU. I think there's a certain group of people who still believe in the empire. And I actually posted on Twitter today a picture of the empire in 1920, and I wrote, by the end of this decade, the UK itself may not exist anymore. You have Scotland leaving, you have Northern Ireland being separated. What is the UK going to look like by the end of this decade in 2030? I think it's going to look more like England and Wales, and maybe even Wales may decide to leave as well. At the moment, it doesn't look to be on the cards, but it's the future. The reason the UK joined the EU was to improve its economy. Now it's left, and its economy is not going to be in a good state.
Time frame that we're talking about, it's clearly obviously in the EU's interest that they would like to extend the transition period, because that means we'd carry on paying money into the European Union. We could go into another spending round, which would...
So he keeps going on about it's in the European Union's interest to do X, Y, or Z. It's in the European Union's interest to extend the transition period. But the European Union have said, look, if you want to leave, you can leave. But the transition period is for you to negotiate a deal after. But if you're not interested in having a deal, what's the point in having the transition period? We all know that Boris Johnson is not interested in having a deal.
Enhance our commitments to them. But what I got out of Boris was that if it's clear we can't negotiate the free trade agreement we desire, which is, I believe, in both our entities' interests, that we walk away and we do not pay the 39 billion so-called divorce bill. What I didn't want us to get caught up in is that we negotiate until 11 o'clock on December the 31st.
So we'll come back to this divorce bill. If you want to have imagine you say, let's try and put it in his terms, okay? So I go to the pub and I have a tab. And then at the end of the night I say, look, I'm not going to bother paying the tab. Well, the barman or the owner of the bar will say, well, you're not coming back into my pub again unless you pay the tab. It's not a very good analogy, but, if you want to trade with the European Union, you need to align with them in a sense. You need to converge with them. What you're talking about is diverging, saying, to hell with you, we're not going to pay this. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. And then on the 1st of January, if Boris Johnson is still there, they're going to be saying, please open the gates, please open the borders, we need to trade. And the European Union could just respond and say, but the 39 billion...
First, don't get a free trade agreement, and we've paid in an awful lot of money. Obviously, the fact that Boris...
Why can't he say, we've paid in a lot of money, but Brexit has cost us more money than the amount of money we've paid in the last 7 years?
This is now suggesting that we have a review in June, and if it's clear we cannot come to an agreement, we leave on WTO terms then, because that saves us paying in another net £6-7 billion wasting our time for the rest of the year.
So, okay, by going on to WTO, hold on, Max, I think you made a huge mistake. You treat this as a foreign policy issue, but it's a domestic policy issue. The talk about the EU is white noise. What makes is domestic issues. Yeah, I think you're right. He's speaking to a domestic audience. He's not speaking to the European Union here.
It gives us more resources of negotiators to concentrate on a successful deal with the USA. And that...
But the USA have said that they're not going to give you a deal until you sort things out with the European Union. Does he not see the catch-22 here? The US have said, sort out your deal, and not just trade, but, you know, Northern Ireland, for example, sort out everything you have with the European Union, and then you can, we can sign a deal with you. We can start negotiations, no problem, but we're not going to sign off on anything unless it satisfies the European Union as well. But if you're saying to the European Union, we're not, to hell with you, we're going to go our own way. Was it Fleetwood Mac? Go in your own way. You know, if you're going to say we're going to go our own way, then the US will say, where is the deal you had with the European Union? We used it as toilet paper. We tore it up. We burnt it. San Antonio, thank you very much. The British Empire seems to be suffering from the rising levels due to climate warming. Yes, it's disappearing. Max is not talking about domestic talking about domestic audience. The whole Brexit thing is done to distract from the huge and domestic problem in the UK, like inequality, education. Yeah, the more we focus on Brexit, the less we focus on issues that affect ordinary people. Can you do a full Fleetwood Mac album? The idea of empire needs to exist in the minds of the working class who voted for Boris. Very well said, Lenny. Because they are the people that spilled blood for the elite's empire. He lives in cloud cuckoo land. But this idea, we can just go to WTO. But going to WTO is not going to fix your problems, because as soon as you go into WTO, Australia, Japan, the US, the European Union can say, oh, wait a minute, we don't agree with this policy. And then you're in deep doo-doo.
Is a deal that's made in heaven, because when we calculate how much trade we do with the USA, we believe we've got a considerable trade surplus with the USA. And when they do their calculations, they believe that they've got a surplus with us. Well, that sounds like a win-win scenario.
Sorry, now maybe I misunderstood something here. You have a trade surplus with the US, and the US has a trade surplus with you. Does that make sense? Sorry guys, does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. Let's just hear what he said again. Maybe I misheard what he said.
We believe we've got a considerable trade surplus to concentrate on a successful deal with the USA. And that is a deal that's made in heaven, because when we calculate how much trade we do with the USA, we believe we've got a considerable trade surplus with the USA. And when they do their calculations, they believe that they've got a surplus with us. Well, that sounds like...
But how can you have a surplus on both sides? Once again, I'm not an expert on mathematics, as you guys probably know. But how can the US have a trade surplus with you and you have a trade surplus with them? Everyone gets a surplus. But does someone believe this? Am I the only one who is like looking at that going, wait a minute, there's something not right here?
Like a win-win scenario. You know, over 1 million UK citizens go to work every day in companies in the UK owned by Americans. and over a million Americans go to work every day in the USA in companies owned by British people. We want to be treated as
Isn't it interesting he didn't talk about European companies or Japanese companies or the relationship with the European Union? He's only talking about America.
a sovereign, independent nation, which we are now. We've left the European Union. A huge market for EU.
Back to this sovereignty. The Parliament had said it was sovereign back in 2019, back in September, I think it was. They had said, no, we are sovereign, okay? Now we're back to this. We're sovereign again. We weren't sovereign before, now we're sovereign.
Goods bigger than any of those other countries they've already done successful free trade agreements with. So we want to be treated as a sovereign, independent nation and respected for that. What we were looking for is mutual recognition of standards, not the same regulations. When you start negotiations,
mutual recognition of standards, not regulations. But the European Union is not talking about regulation. It's talking about standard. Yes, it's a level playing field. It's talking about recognition of standards. What does he mean by that? It's like the European Union say, well, you have your standards and we have ours. Yes, but then how do you trade? You have to have aligned standards. It's like if I said, send me a bottle of wine. Okay, but what size of a bottle? Well, whatever size you want. No, I need a size of a bottle of wine. Well, we have our standard of measurement. Okay, what is it? We're not going to tell you because it's ours. It's a blah, blah, blah. Okay, but how much is that? Can I measure it in some way? No. So you need to have a standard that both of you agree on. So in any type of negotiation, if I go to buy a car and the car dealer says, okay, how are you going to pay me? And I say, I'm going to pay you in monopoly money. They say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that. It's the same problem here.
So you lay out, what you'd really like to get, because obviously if you don't do that to start with, you're never going to get any more than that. You're only ever going to get less. And I understand their position. They don't want a vibrant, competitive trading nation on their border. And their big fear is obviously that... No. It's not about a vibrant trading nation. It's about a low tax economy. It's not about a low regulation economy. That's what they don't want. They don't want a dumping ground. You want to turn the UK into a dumping ground. You want to turn it into a type of tax haven. And the European Union don't want that on their doorstep. Would you like to be living next door to, a drug dealer? You could say, well, that drug dealer has his own business and you need to respect his way of working. No, but I don't want to be living next door to this guy because he, degrades my community. He lowers the value of my home. I'm not comparing the UK to a drug dealer, okay? But the type of Brexit that these people want is to have an economy where the taxes are low, the regulations are low, and they still can trade with the European Union as they are at the moment. But the European Union say, no, we're not allowing that. We're not going to, if you want to trade with us, you need to agree certain ground rules. Other nations will look over into UK, prospering outside the European Union, doing free trade deals around the world, our economy growing faster than the European Union, and think we're leaving next. To be honest, that's not the UK.
Yes, Max, a dumping ground, and who in the UK benefits from that? Yeah, exactly. Do you think the poor will benefit from the UK becoming a dumping ground? No, it will be some very, very rich individuals. People that, for example, are friends with Nigel Farage and the Tories.
UK's problem. I think the EU could survive, but it needs to reform itself, something it's been very reluctant to do. And I think one of the...
So the EU needs to reform. I think not in the way you... I also agree the European Union needs to reform, but not in the way you think it should be reformed. You want it to eliminate all types of protections for ordinary people. Can you remove the scum logo? I can't, I'm sorry. I completely disagree with The Sun, but they're one of the only channels that allow me, if I put anything up from the BBC, unfortunately the BBC would have my channel closed down through copyright strikes. Unfortunately I have to use The Sun. They are more, ironically, more open.
Problems with the mode of European integration and the speed that they've looked to move to a federal Europe is that the political elite in Europe have desired this and pushed it along, but I don't believe they've ever taken.
And you had the veto. The UK had a veto to stop anything that they didn't like. And why didn't you engage with the European Union? What's the point in standing on the outside saying, "Oh, everything's bad in there. It should have done this. It should have done that." You had a chance to do that. Hi to everyone who's just come into the chat. Sorry I didn't say hello before. We were commenting on this video, so welcome everyone new who has just come in. But the UK was in a very good position, a strong position, to influence the European Union. And as I've said before on many occasions, the UK some years ago was a very positive voice in the European Union, directing it in the right way. On human rights, for example. And recently it decided to take a back seat and snipe and criticize. And now you're standing on the sidelines. You're like, it reminds me of people like this guy, remind me of the people who go to a football match and complain, and they probably never kicked a ball in their life. Wee Scott's Dog, welcome.
And the people of those European countries with them. And I'm afraid they're going to have a political backlash for that. And I think we're seeing that in the European elections. Well, it's interesting, during the referendum campaign... maybe he's right, but I don't think so. That the European elections are a way of bashing the European Union. I believe the European elections are a way of bashing local governments. National governments, I should say. Because you see this time and time again. People vote for protest parties. People vote for populist parties in the European elections. Why? Because people don't regard the European elections as something that impacts their lives. And maybe this is a problem with the European Union. They should reinforce the idea that, the European election is important. It decides the future direction the European Union goes in. But many people vote in it as a way to give the government, I keep saying local, national government, a bloody nose. It's not about, I disagree with the European Union on this policy. Scraggy Dog, welcome. It's not about my disagreement with the European Union on this policy or on this direction. It's about giving the national government a bloody nose. It happens in most European countries. And the UK was no exception. I led the Leave campaign for the East Midlands. I met with a representative of the Polish community in my seat of North West Leicestershire. We had a very long talk for...
Did you tell him to go back to Poland?
An hour or so, and at the end of it, he said that he was reassured by my comments that European workers were needed and valued in the UK post-Brexit.
What?
And he said that although his community would not have a vote on the referendum because they were EU citizens, if they had, he would have recommended that they voted to leave. And
so this poll, so I don't, that's a fantastic image. So I don't believe for a second that this guy met this Polish person and this Polish person said, yeah, if I was able to vote, I would vote for the UK to kick me out of this country. I have been working here for a long time. I've been paying taxes. My children go to the local school. But the best thing the UK could do would be to kick me back to Poland. Because, you don't want people like me in this country. Does anyone really believe that the conversation this guy here had with this Polish person was, yeah, if only we could have voted to leave as well? Maybe there are Polish people who believe this, but I don't think many of them are living in the UK. Voting, yeah, we want to vote for a party that wants to kick us out. I know there are turkeys voting for Christmas, but really?
fact that more than 3 million EU citizens have decided that their best future for themselves and their families post-Brexit is to remain and work and live in the United Kingdom. I think that's a huge endorsement of the optimism around they have for our post-Brexit future.
No, the reason they voted to the reason they want to stay in the UK is because they don't want to leave, because they have built a life there. I don't understand. You're saying that people voted to leave the European Union because they want to stay in the UK. But one of the reasons people voted, that one of the messages behind Brexit was to kick the immigrants out. So you're turning it around and saying, well, actually these people who voted to kick people out, in reality they wanted people, they voted for people to stay. What?
And I just wish that all parliamentarians, especially those in the opposition parties, had that same confidence that I share with the EU migrants about our country's future after we've left the European Union.
But these migrants will be gone. You'll be campaigning to get rid of them. It's like, can you imagine a scenario, this Polish man that he was allegedly talking to, before the vote. Yeah, we really value you in this country. You've been dedicated non-citizen, paying your tax or whatever, but don't worry, your vote to leave the European Union reinforces the idea that you want to stay here and continue. And then, skip forward like a year or 2 years, and then a van turns up, and this guy, not him on the screen now, but the Tory MP, with a stick and an Alsatian saying, get in the van, we're taking you back to Poland.
I think we get the impression from the Theresa May administration that she listened to the civil service, she listened to Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, and she saw Brexit as a damage limitation exercise, whereas what it actually is a huge opportunity for us to play a massive part in world trade. We're back on the WTO. We can lead.
Does he really believe this? Does he actually believe that WTO is a benefit? So you're talking about we have our sovereignty back, right? We didn't have sovereignty before. The European Union ruled over us like a king, which isn't true because you were a member and you could have voted on laws or whatever. But we're going to now give that sovereignty to the WTO. Okay, and who votes in the WTO? Maybe you should ask your Polish friend, does he have a vote in the WTO?
Concerted efforts by our old friends in the Commonwealth, who are 33% of the WTO representatives, to liberalise trade. Free trade has...
Why do you think that this guy really doesn't understand how trade works or how business works either? So you think that because the other members of the Commonwealth will automatically say, well, if the Tories said we should do this, well, then we have to do that. If the British government said we need to sacrifice things in our country to satisfy Britain, then we have to do that. It's a business. Any politician worth their salt will look out for their country, irrespective of Commonwealth, irrespective of union, whatever. That doesn't make any difference to them. They are there, they're elected by their people to represent their country. If they don't represent their country, they'll be removed. They don't care about Commonwealth or anything like this. Does he honestly believe that him or someone like him can just walk in and say, look guys, we're going to have a negotiation today, but you're going to give everything we want? And the other people say, why? Because the Commonwealth. Remember, we were an empire. You have to give us what we want. And the Australians or the Canadians or whatever say, but we're not going to do that. But you have to. Why do we have to do that? We won a majority in the parliament. Why should we care about that? Because Boris said he'd get Brexit done.
commerce has lifted billions of people out of poverty over the last few decades, and I think we have a massive opportunity to be a force for good in the world and to, again...
You were a force for good in the world. As a member of the European Union, you had a chance to be a force for good in the world, and you had the European Union behind you. You had a huge bloc. You were a member of a very important club, and you were able to implement policies that impacted people outside the European Union in a positive way also. How can you have the same influence if you're not part of that club, not part of that organization? I don't understand how these people... This is my problem with someone like him. I don't believe that he believes what he's saying, but he's saying it because he knows some people do believe what he's saying.
Improve the living standards for people across the globe. Well, of course.
So before you're saying, well, these people are going to give us what we want because, well, the Commonwealth, and now you're saying we're out to make the lives of other people better. Well, which is it?
For those who don't respect the referendum results and don't want us to leave the European Union, there's always an excuse for a delay. There's no excuse. These are negotiations between very few people which are going to be carried out in London, and what you're seeing is that the British government is getting accolades for...
Sorry, negotiations, a small number of people. There are going to be huge numbers of people carrying out multiple negotiations over the next year. It's not just... See, this is another problem that many people seem to have. They think that Boris Johnson or maybe David Frost is the one who's carrying out who's standing there or sitting opposite Michel Barnier, and they go, okay, what about immigrants? Oh, this. Okay, shake hands. Or maybe not now because of coronavirus. Shake feet or whatever. And then, okay, now next point, free tariff-free. We want them, we don't. But we give some of them. Okay, next. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be long and arduous, and it's going to go on for weeks and months, maybe even years. The Canada deal took years. The one with Japan, I think it was 7 years it took for the European Union and Japan to complete their free trade agreement, their trade agreement, sorry. You know, it's not something you can do over a weekend.
Or dealing with the current coronavirus epidemic better.
Sorry, so I'll let him finish.
Than other European nations.
Yes, Boris, who said in front of a crowd of journalists, well, I shook hands with everyone in the hospital who had, and even people who had coronavirus. And then it turned out that that wasn't the hospital that had coronavirus. So Boris Johnson was lying about the hospital, or he was lying about shaking hands with people, or he's lying about both. And then he pointed to the doctor, and the doctor said, no, you should wash your hands. This is the example this is how you are leading the way. Which is it that you're leading the way in? By giving people bad advice or by lying about it?
The best place to have those negotiations. They can't be delayed. They're very straightforward. It is a matter of, can we have tariff and quota-free trade for our mutual benefit, or are the EU so dogmatic that they'll put the...
Tariff and free trade, tariff-free trade, but it's not... for both of you, it's mutually beneficial. It's not the case. It would be beneficial for some people, but it's going to be damaging on both sides if you have something like that.
Potential preservation of the European Union above the well-being of their citizens. It's a huge test.
Do you not see how both of those things are linked? If the European Union remains a solid, stable bloc, then it's better for European Union citizens. He seems to think if the European Union protects its integrity, that's somehow bad for European Union citizens. I'd love to hear him explain how that would be. I don't think he will.
For the European Union. The situation we find ourselves now, having left the European Union with Boris's deal, entering into these talks, is completely different to where we'd have been under the Theresa May deal previously, which I voted against every single time, along with at the end 28 colleagues known as the Spartans.
The Spartans. Oh God! They even give themselves cute names.
Had that bill passed, we'd have been in a very weak position. So now we're in a position where we've got a majority Conservative government with a mandate again from the people to leave the Europe.
But once again, there's this thing of a mandate. Boris Johnson has a mandate, but that's not it's a strong position from a British point of view, but the European Union are not going to take that into account. Especially if Boris Johnson is saying, well, I'm willing to walk away. You know, it's like if I went to buy a car and at the dealer, and then the dealer said, okay, do you want to buy this car or not? And I said, well, all of my family is behind me. Why would the dealer say, oh, well, that makes a difference? Then, well, my wife supports me, but my kids don't. What? Why would the European Union care if Boris Johnson has a majority in Parliament? Maybe, look, maybe I'm being disingenuous here. Maybe I'm not being kind enough to him. But please, I'd like for someone to explain why Boris Johnson having a majority in Parliament is somehow beneficial in trade negotiations with the European Union.
European Union, we've officially left. We've now got 9 months to negotiate a free trade agreement. It's a free trade agreement unlike any other because we've got the same regulations and rules currently as the European Union. No free trade agreement between two different countries has ever had that level playing field to start with. It is a matter of, what do the EU want to do? What I can assure you is these negotiations, due to the compressed timescale, 9 months, and there's no way that we're going to be extending those 9 months. It's either going to be we're going to get full, which we're asking for, tariff.
The Spartans like to tie their foreskins back and train together. Oh God! I know you've deleted the message. No, you can't. Well, I've already seen it. So.
And quota-free trade, as we've got at the moment, or it will be WTO. There is no time with the bureaucratic nature of the European Union representing the interests, which are very disparate, of 27 different countries, to go line by line through all the tariffs on all the products.
Oh, you think that they won't do that? You think that the European Union will be, damn it, we need to get, Boris Johnson has given us a timeline, a deadline, I should say, and well, we have to respect that deadline. No, they don't. If they think it needs 6 years, they'll do it in 6 years. And they say, if you want it, you need to extend. What does he not understand? The European Union is not the one who's desperate here. Boris Johnson set the time limit. The European Union said, we don't have any time limit. If it takes 6 months, we'll do it in 6 months. If it takes 6 years, 60 years, we don't care. We don't have a time limit. You're the one with the time limit. So him thinking, well, the European Union are not going to go through each deal and say, look, we only have 6 months. We need to speed things up. No, they will not. Now, once again, I don't know whether he believes that or he knows it's not true and he's pretending that it's the case. And he's hoping that people who are watching this will say, yeah, he's right. Yeah, the European Union, they only have until December, so they must speed things up. So they'll just give us whatever we want because of the time limit. Oh, God.
That we sell to each other. Obviously, the Germans don't want tariffs on cars. The Greeks won't want tariffs on olive oil. They haven't got time for that. So it's going to be...
they haven't got time for that. We're back to the German car industry. The German car industry, yeah, I honestly haven't heard any more from this, but what's he next going to say? The German car industry is going to go to Angela Merkel and say, Angela, you need to give the Brits a better trade deal because, we need to sell cars there. At what point are these people going to realize that's not how things function?
Very much all or nothing. It's a high-staked poker game, but we've got most of the cards. We will be the
No, it's like a knife fight, and you instead bringing a spoon.
biggest market for EU goods. We buy far more from the EU than we sell to the EU. It's the only part of the world where we have a huge trade deficit.
You're giving away the game here. You said, let's just hear what he said again.
Most of the cards. We will be the biggest market for EU goods. We buy far more from the EU than we sell to the EU. It's the only part of the world.
So if you buy more from them, hi electronic freak, if you buy more from the EU than you sell, who's in a stronger position? You think, yeah, we're in a stronger position. But if they say, well, we have managed the situation that we don't need actually to sell so much to you. Because that's what they've been doing over the last number of years. Because you brought up the idea of a no deal. So what has the European Union been doing since then? They've been informing their respective countries to prepare for a no deal. Because you brought it up years ago. You were talking about we're going to have a no deal, we're going to have a no deal. So the European Union said, okay, we're not going to take the risk, so let's plan for a no deal. And now you're saying, well, you have to, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to have a no deal. Okay, but we're prepared for a no deal. Or as close as possible prepared. But they're not going to... This is the problem that people like him don't seem to understand. The European Union are not choosing trade over European integration. They're choosing European integration over trade. So they're willing to take a hit in order to maintain European integration. Why do you think that the European Union were willing to lend money to Greece? Because they said, look, if Greece leaves, then we're in trouble. Or it's going to be damaging, not trouble, but it's going to be damaging to the European Union. If we support Greece, we support the Union. This is... Maybe it's something the Tories, because Tories don't give a crap about Scotland or Northern Ireland. But imagine a Tory government that actually cared about Scotland and cared about Northern Ireland, and said, "Look, we're going to value the Union, the British Union, the Union of the United Kingdom, over the cost of it." Now, at the moment, it's difficult for us to imagine that because we normally think of money first, but the European Union don't think in that way. They say we need to protect the Union first. If we have to take a hit on the UK, it will be a temporary one and then we'll move on. And I think this guy doesn't understand this.
World where we have a huge trade deficit, that means we're the customer. And in my book, as in all the business books, the customer is king. So that gives us a great game to play.
Yes, but a good customer is king. I don't want a bad customer. A customer who, for example, attempts to, reverse engineer my products and sell them off at a cheaper price to someone else, or a customer who is threatening not to pay me in advance. Yeah, customer is king, sure, but it depends on the customer. No one wants a bad customer, and the UK is setting itself up. Brexiteers are setting the UK up as a bad customer, someone who doesn't respect rules. Boris Johnson has talked about tearing up international agreements. If you're providing a service to a customer, and this customer says, has gone around before signing the agreement with you saying, we're not going to respect this agreement. We're not going to do what this person say. We're not going to respect what's written down. We don't give a crap about that. Is that a good customer?
Play. And on top of that, because we're now able to negotiate free trade agreements around the world, parallel discussions with the United States, who also want a free trade deal with us, that puts pressure in.
What's interesting? That They've never said the time for the US trade deal. Ask Brexiteers this question. How long do you think the US trade deal will take? Because, if you want to have it, you can't say, if they come back and say, well, it's going to take years. But then what's the benefit? Like, how long will it take for you to have the benefit of it? Like, at the moment you have a decent situation with the US as a member. Well, no longer now because the UK is no longer a member. But the European Union, if you're a member of the European Union, you have a reasonable relationship with the US regarding trade. But you're going into WTO terms, and then you're going to work to have a trade deal. I would like to ask him, how long do you think it will take to have a trade deal? And not, well, it'll be very quick. No, months. Months, weeks, years, decades. How long will it take?
Creates a competitive market, which is going to encourage the European Union, if they want to serve their citizens and their businesses as they should, to negotiate that tariff and quota-free free trade agreement that we want.
I don't know. What can I say? Donald Trump hilariously tries to and fails to pronounce Indian names. Okay. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think he's right? Do you think the UK can get the deal that they want? Flat earthers speak more sense. Are you and the British people willing to work if the Prime Minister orders 10, 12, if necessary, 14 hours a day? Yeah, so there's this point of the working time directive being taken away. This is a law that was it was implemented by the European Union to protect peoples from being pressured into working extra hours. The Tories are talking about, getting rid of that as well. US trade deal done in 2 years with God Emperor Trump, and it'll be huge. Why 2 years? And also you have to wait 2 years for the trade deal. So then the trade deal happens, but the implementation, how long does that take? Trade deals don't just be implemented overnight. Brigden drones on for a year. He sounds like he's had too much beer. Or not enough beer, maybe. Exceptionalism. It's disappointing to see an MP talking out of his backside, having an opinion in one thing, but giving uninformed and misleading statements is a disgrace. Good to hear you pulling him apart. Look, if he's ignorant of these things, then I mean him no harm. But I think as a politician and as a member of the governing party, then he should know these things. Like, he's talking about these things, so he should know how these things work. And either he doesn't know, and I can forgive that because I'm not an expert on everything, on even on Brexit. I'm not an expert. I know a certain amount. I probably know a bit more than most people do. But he's a politician. He should know more than me. So either he doesn't know or he's lying. And if he's lying, why is he lying? If Brexit is such a great thing, you shouldn't have to lie. You should be able to explain this will be the benefit, and it will arrive in this time. Trump is getting deals done with Canada and Mexico, but what type of deals? Like, you can say a deal is, what is the barometer of a good deal? Does it help citizens? I would judge a deal as something that would help the people of the country. Like I said before, he was saying, we can have deals with the Commonwealth. Yeah, but normally a deal doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. But normally a deal that's good for you may not be good for the other person. So there's always give and take, compromise. So, you can say Donald Trump is making deals, but what type of deals? Bill Clinton made some deals before with China. And, many people had problems with that, destroyed the American economy, and brought someone like Trump to the White House. It's not his first rodeo, Max. He knows well what he's doing. And then if he has to lie, then he knows it's not good. Sorry guys, if I don't see your comments, just repeat them if you have a question. Sorry, just San Antonio said, did you see that Johnson has revenged himself on the renowned classicist Mary Beard for destroying him in the IQ squared debate? No, I haven't seen that. The video was for Sun readers, Max. They'll believe anything read. Read the comments. I did read. Unfortunately, I did read some of the comments before I came on the stream, and it's like, yeah, we're going to win. Yeah, WTO for the win. WTO is the way to go. But people don't understand what WTO means. If you're talking about sovereignty, it's about taking back control, then you're outsourcing that control to the WTO, which you don't control. So how is that a benefit? It's like there are two languages being spoken. The politicians are speaking one language, and the people in the comments section are speaking another language, and you don't know which one to respond to. Trade deals are very terribly easy, though. Some of them make us feel queasy, like chicken, of course, from a dubious source like Donald Trump when he's sneezy. Very good. Hey folks, leave a like and a sub for more hilarious bad math. Ooh, killer. I deleted that video, remember. Okay. It's okay, guys. The Sun lost 40 million last year. I've already read about the NAFTA 2.0 since it's basically that. Yes. Let me see if I can... I want to show you another video, completely different subject, of course. Let me see if I can open... So if you don't hear me talking, bear with me. I'll be with you in just a moment. So we were talking about Joe Biden before, so I just want to show you an interesting video.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new presidential race now. A brand new...
So I don't know if you know this guy. Most of you probably do. It's Kyle Kalinske from Secular Talk. So this is an interesting video he does on Joe Biden. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you've seen part of it, but let's see.
New presidential race. It is Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden. Reset the scorecard. We're going to be tied coming out of Super Tuesday in delegates. We have about 60% of the states left to vote. So here we go. Here we go. Now, Joe Biden had a good Super Tuesday. He has Joe-mentum, as they're calling it, okay? But I want America to know what it's getting into if it picks Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders to go up against Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump, as of this moment, is a giant favorite for re-election. So it's going to be a race no matter who's up against Trump. Doesn't matter, it's going to be a race.
And that's something I don't understand. Why does Trump have so much support? Like, what has Trump done to maintain this support? I can't believe it's only just rallies. He does a lot of rallies all the time, and he has thousands of people at these rallies. But what is Trump doing that maintains his support? I honestly don't understand, because I don't see how people's lives have improved because of Trump. But okay, I'll go ahead anyway.
But Bernie Sanders is the only one with a prayer. If a race was held between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I think there's about an 80%, maybe a little bit over an 80% chance that Trump wins. Now, why do I say that? For a number of reasons. I mean, first and foremost, Trump had a lot to hold over Hillary's head because of her poor record with the Iraq War and the outsourcing deals and Libya and the Clinton Foundation and the speeches to Goldman Sachs. Trump had a lot to go after Hillary with, but keep it real, for all of Hillary's flaws, she's relatively quick on her feet. There's no denying that. Of all my criticisms, and I have many of Hillary Clinton, she's quick-witted. Like, she'll stand there and go back and forth with you. There's no denying that. Joe Biden, Trump has...
Sorry, so Earl says, Americans traditionally re-elect for a second term without much question. I never understood that, and it's true. In most cases, it happened. It happened with Clinton, it happened with George W. Bush, happened with Obama. So it'll probably happen with Trump. And I don't understand that. I could understand apathy, where people say, well, but why did they turn up and vote? You would imagine people who would say, well, he's the president, he'll probably win again. I can understand people having that mindset, but why did they go out and vote? It's like the people, who said, I didn't want to vote for Boris Johnson. I'm normally a Labour supporter in the north, in Yorkshire or whatever, and I don't want to vote either for Jeremy Corbyn. Then stay at home. I would never tell people it's better not to vote, but if the choice was I hate Jeremy Corbyn and I hate Boris Johnson, then stay at home. Don't vote. There isn't an obligation for you to vote in the UK. I think in Switzerland there is an obligation, but in most countries you don't have to vote. And I don't understand. And I wouldn't hold anything against someone who said, look, neither of the candidates were good, so I stayed at home. I'm not a big fan of the lesser of two evils, because in many cases it's a false dichotomy. But if you don't like either of them, then don't vote. Because by voting, you're already making a choice. You're already supporting someone. You're already saying this person should be there. Even if you don't agree with them, even if you're saying, well, I'm going to vote for it because I have no other choice. No, you have a choice. Night Raven, thank you very much. You're so kind. I finally figured out Super Chat. So if you have any particular questions, guys, do the Super Chat. They'll go to the top and I'll be able to respond immediately. Okay, let's go ahead with what Kyle is saying. Hello, Kyle?
Has a horrible record to hold over his head, and also he's not forming coherent sentences. So we have a lot of this to look forward to if it's Biden versus Trump.
Friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
you know the thing. Oh my God. You know how it goes.
Tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris, my name.
Okay, forgetting someone's name, I think, I would forgive that. I forget people's names, so.
Joe Biden, I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont? One of the things I'm proudest of is getting moved, getting control of the Paris Climate Accord. I'm the guy that came back after meeting with Deng Xiaoping and
Deng Xiaoping was slightly different.
making the case that I believe China would join if we put pressure on them. You had people like you had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. Go to
Chairman in Germany, Angela Merkel. So he was confusing, obviously, Margaret Thatcher and Angela Merkel, but they are slightly different people. And chairman in Germany, no, chancellor.
Joe 30330. Watch what happened when those kids from Parkland came up to see me when I was vice president. They went and some of you covered it. It's not that they don't want to help. They don't know quite what to do. Play the radio. Make sure the television. Make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the
the record player. Dementia Wars. Crockett. This, something interesting in this picture was Merkel was the chairwoman of her party. Okay, sorry, but I thought he wanted to say chancellor, but the other people here you look here at Bernie, Stoneface, and the other two candidates, Warren and what's her name, Harris. They're not listening to what Joe is saying. The American people simply don't care. I think you're right. Keep the record player on at night. I actually have a record player. We love, my wife and I, we love old things. Vintage. It's not a vintage record player. It's a new one. We got it on Amazon. But we love old things. I think her grandfather gave us some of his old records, so we play those.
kids hear words. And to get hot, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down. So
what is he talking about?
I was trained and then watch the hair come back up again.
It's like an old person, and I mean no offense by this, but it sounds like an old person in an old folks' home talking about their childhood.
They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
I love kids jumping on my lap. I don't think that's really a good thing to say in this day and age.
Honestly, that's really not even very funny. It's not.
Okay, I understand why he's saying it's not funny. Because he says this is what we have in front. Well, let's hear what he has to say.
It's not. It's very sad. I've seen, and you're going to see him in a little bit as well, I've seen videos of Joe Biden going back to, that was a ghost, by the way. I'm just kidding. It was my foot that kicked the wire. Going back to 2016, Joe Biden.
Abe Simpson. I'm sorry for you American guys, but things are not looking good. Bunga bunga. Italy has moved on from bunga bunga. Maybe Berlusconi, I think he separated from his partner of 12 years. I don't know whether she was, maybe he's trading her in for a younger model or something.
Is way sharper than what you just saw right there. Do yourself a favor. Go back all the way.
A lion dog-faced pony soldier. What the hell was that about, Briss? A lying dog-faced pony soldier. Is that something said in Delaware? He's from Delaware, isn't he? He was the senator for Delaware. I don't know if he's originally from Delaware, but it's not funny when you know Bill Clinton. Yeah.
To 2012, watch the YouTube debate between Paul Ryan and Joe Biden, and tell me he hasn't lost not just a step. Homeboy's lost like 3 or 4 steps. It honestly is sad to watch. He obliterated Sarah Palin in 2008. He obliterated Paul Ryan in 2012. He's also, by the way, a really good debater in those elections. Now compare that to everything that's gone on recently. Guys, I really take no...
Yeah, Trump will use these in attack ads. 100%, Dylan. I feel sorry for him. You know, I'm laughing at these gaffes, but I feel sorry for the guy because he's not up for the job. And this is the beginning of the campaign. No, you know, the primary is the first, is you can call it the pre-game. But after this, he has to go, you know, pedal to the metal. And he really needs to go down hard on Donald Trump. But I don't see him doing this. I don't think he's cut out for it. And he's not good at campaigning. This is a problem Joe Biden has as well. Sometimes during the primaries, he didn't bother to turn up in some states. They had organized events, and he didn't bother to turn up. You know, you need to be on the ball. You need to be front and center. You need to be fighting every day. And I don't think he's up for that.
Pleasure in saying this. He has cognitive decline. He has dementia. And if the response is, yeah, but Trump has it too, is that really the kind of presidential race we want to have? A race between two people with dementia? And by the way, I think even if you try to make the case that Trump has it, it's nowhere near as advanced as what Joe Biden is dealing with. And again, I take no pleasure in saying this. He's not my preferred candidate, but honestly, that's irrelevant. I think the dude needs help. I do. This is very, very difficult to watch. So just so everybody understands, what happens next is there's a lot of people in corporate media who turn around and say, how dare you? You're not allowed to talk about this, specifically because Joe Biden has a stutter, or he used to have a stutter. And when you bring up anything about his speech patterns, you are therefore bullying him for his stutter.
I think it's going to go in a different direction. I think it's going to be, you can't criticize him because he's old. You know, it'll be, we shouldn't talk about Joe Biden because he's old. And I think I don't think his age is so relevant. But the media will say any type of criticism of Joe Biden will be, you're just criticizing because he's an old guy and and that's ageism. And why don't the young people respect someone like Joe Biden? Oh, because he's old. And that's a complete misdirection. That's not the issue. The issue is that I don't think he's capable. And then, then becoming president next year, like if he's declining at this stage, what is he going to be like in 6 months' time? How many months? We're almost just over 6 months before the election. I don't know. The stress of the general election, I don't know if it's going to be too much for Biden.
I'm not kidding you.
Sorry, it would be too much for me. Going from city to city, rallies. I don't know.
This is an argument that people make with a straight face. To which my response is...
Supercent, I agree. Donald Trump takes drugs. Donald Trump is probably on something, uppers, to get him, before these rallies. Look at Donald Trump. He sweats like he's... No, I was going to say a terrible joke, but I'm not going to say. But he sweats terribly, and he starts shaking, and he mumbles, and he rambles. He's probably on something to keep him going. And then probably to sleep, he needs some other type of drugs. Elvis rerun. US needs youth vote Sanders. Yeah. Would someone like Ocasio-Cortez have been better? Although she can't because not her herself, because she's too young to run for president. But if Trump wins, there's a chance that she could be president next, or she could run next time. And I think somebody like her would, somebody who doesn't have the age problem. Imagine her running against Joe Biden or someone like Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren. I think she would clean house. And she has a very strong grassroots support. But the Republicans hate her, but I don't think that's going to damage her too much.
Is what you just saw is not the result of a stutter.
Sorry, the only way Trump loses is if the virus turns out to be a right disaster. So this is something that was talked about, is the too inexperienced. I think this is something that could be that was talked about, is the virus normally has a peak and then it declines. But for example, the Spanish flu, as far as I know, declined in the summer and then came back much stronger in the winter time. So imagine in the US, the virus goes away, but if it comes back in October, November with a vengeance, I don't think Donald Trump would be prepared for it. And that could be something that could sink him. You know, if there are people dropping like flies, if there's chaos, people are going to say, well, you know, you should have dealt with this. You had a chance before. You said it was all a scam. It was all a hoax. And now we're dealing with it, you know, on its terms. You know, it's back with a vengeance, and you know, maybe we need someone else in charge. Ocasio-Cortez is 30. You need to be 35. I think she could be 35. So in 2024, I think she was 30 last year. So she'll be 31 this year. So she might just scrape by, because it'd be 2025. So 2024 is when the next election, then 2025. So she might be 35. I don't know. I don't know her exact birthday, so that could be a problem for her. A few years ago, Biden greeted the Irish PM on St. Patrick's Day with an orange. Put down, I'm a Republican Socialist Catholic, but I'm also a proud orange on my flag, as well as the green. No. Boris Johnson has Alzheimer's from birth. This is why reported cases versus fatalities is so different from other countries. And the whole issue regarding healthcare in the US, you know, people here in Europe, you know, if we get sick, if we're worried about, you know, the virus, we go to the hospital and we get treated and we don't worry about the cost. If you're someone working in the US, minimum wage or whatever, and you start to feel a bit, you know, hot, a bit of a fever, do you go to the hospital if you're afraid that you may have to pay? Or you're afraid that your insurance won't cover it? Trump is literally an orange man. I like to call him Agent Orange. But then he didn't go to Vietnam, so I shouldn't really call him Agent Orange. British soldiers brought it back here, but the UK education itself educated itself to believe it was Chinese soldiers. The world cannot take 4 more years of Trump. No, it can't. October 13th, 1989. So she would be 35 in 2024. No? Don't ask me. I'm terrible at maths. Democrats always let Republicans pick the president. The Democrats are always, we need to win over the Republicans, instead of we need to maintain our base. While the Republicans are always, we need to maintain our base. I gave up fried snake and rat skewers because of coronavirus. A screaming Oompa Loompa. Max, yes. You're right, Night Raven. Do the math. Okay, let's see what Kyle has to say.
Joe Biden himself said in an interview to Axios, no, this has nothing to do with my stutter at all. Nothing. This is, me, sometimes I'm struggling to find the words. And according to his campaign staffers, it always happens later in the day. Like, he'll be okay earlier in the day, and then as the day goes on, as you get closer to late afternoon and evening time, that's when it starts going. And you could see it in the debates. Some of the debates, he starts out relatively strong, And then, I don't know what they do before.
Actually, this is a sign of dementia. Normally, dementia patients are better in the mornings, and then as the day progresses, they get worse. So, I'm not diagnosing Joe Biden with dementia, but it's not looking good.
Beforehand, maybe give him some caffeine or whatever, and then halfway through the debate, 3/4 through the debate, all of a sudden you can't understand him. He's incoherent, and it's happened time and time and time again. So I'm telling you, don't take my word for it. Go watch a video of him from 4 years ago. Go watch the debate with Paul Ryan. That's not 4 years ago. 2016 is 4 years ago, but check 4 years ago, check 8 years ago, check 12 years ago. You're going to be amazed at how much more quick and with it he is.
We have the best healthcare in Denmark. It costs in tax around $3,000 a year. It covers all, no matter what the cost. Yes. If we push this reasoning, it could result that no one need to rely on the hypothetical increase of the virus strength. Use Ebola instead if you want to be sure it will impact Trump's re-election. Interesting. Cotton cat. He just needs to find a running mate who is bad in the morning but good in the night. Good job. Who's bad in the... I'm bad in the morning, probably. I don't know if I'm good in the evenings, though.
Is back then, and how sharp the decline has been. So here's my question to you. You really want to put this up against Trump? Now, I get it. There's a lot of people...
Sorry, just go back to the... So Glasgow Kiss says, how can you have bone spurs and avoid the draft? Be almost obese, eat nothing but junk food, but also have be a perfect specimen. I don't know how Donald Trump is still alive, considering his diet. I think he's like one of those people, we all have that uncle or, that old person we know who drinks whiskey every day and smokes 60 cigarettes a day and, dies at the age of 95. I hope Donald Trump is not one of those. Side note, the NHS Scotland is outperforming the rest of the UK on dementia, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's care, as well as palliative care. Wow, very good. Scotland is a shining light. I really mean that. Why are so many people wanting to go to Scotland? I have to visit Scotland. And if I do, my Scottish friends, we have to meet. And also in the other parts of the world, whenever I'm in your part of the world, I'll let you know, and then perhaps we can meet up. Talk about Brexit. Because don't worry, Brexit will be going on for a long time to come. I'm bad with coffee, no matter if it's in the morning or in the evening. In Italy, we say no coffee after 5 o'clock. I sometimes drink coffee after 5 o'clock, though. Normally I try to avoid after 5. He doesn't smoke or drink. Donald Trump, yeah. How Trump stayed alive? Secretly given vegetables. They reprocessed the vegetables to look like hamburgers or to look like hot dogs. I'm not confident Joe or Bernie has the stuff to win, but I would like to see Bernie take a run at it. I think Bernie has the best chance. I said before, when Bernie was the front runner, I was saying I'm afraid Bernie couldn't win because of the fundamentals, the advantage Trump has. This idea, as someone said before, I don't remember who said it, sorry, how the voters always vote for, the same president again in the second term, the incumbent advantage, and Trump automatically has that, and it's normally something that is a huge boost because people don't vote on policy. There's this guy, I imagine you could go to America and you'd find people who don't know who the president is. I imagine there are people in the UK who don't know who the prime minister is. In Italy, there are people who don't know who the prime minister is. Conte. But everywhere. So if you ask people, who's the president of the U.S.? Oh, I don't know. It's Donald Trump. Oh, right. So who's going to vote next year? Next time. I'll vote for Donald Trump. Why? I don't know. These are the type of people you're dealing with. People who don't care about policy, who just vote because of a name. Trump eats only the toppings of his pizza because he thinks it's healthier. My God, wasn't it Donald Trump said people shouldn't go running because it increases your heart rate, and your heart has a set number of beats. So if you go running and it increases the heart rate, the heart beats faster, so your life is shorter. He actually said that. You can look at it later. Ihan Mai. Good night, Gary. Maybe shite. Everyone now. No, Dominic. Dominic is the PM. Sorry, yes. Dominic Cummings is ruling in the UK, not Boris Johnson, his puppet. Queen Bee. The media is really calling Bernie an anti-Semite. Yeah. They're really going down with this anti-Semite crap. Like even if you disagree with Bernie, how can you say, yeah, let's call him an anti-Semite? He lost family in the Holocaust. We have the best education in Denmark. We live on well-educated people. Even the Germans think the workforce is great. The young people pay nothing and they get around $800 a month while in school. Is that one of the reasons Bernie has been talking about Denmark? He's saying Denmark is the model to copy. And I know some people who have moved to Denmark, and they say it's the best place in Europe. The Simpsons predicted the coronavirus. Trump knows nothing about the relativity of space-time and biology. Populism like coronavirus must simply be left to run its course and burn itself out. But it has a tendency to come back with a vengeance, I'm afraid. Hi, welcome to the chat. Anyone who's just come in, welcome to the stream. How's the night going for Max? Any Dargoffs or progressive demagogues pulling facts out of the sun? You missed the previous video. We were talking. Well, the chat did something weird. And in Denmark, you can drive a car on the beach. The rich will do anything to get rid of Bernie. Yes, I agree. The American middle class will always vote for their wallet, and they will convince Bernie will tax them. I think this is probably middle class voters don't like Bernie. They're afraid. I think there's this mentality in the US is, I'm a temporarily poor millionaire, so I'm just waiting to become a millionaire, and if the government increases my taxes, then I'm not going to become a millionaire, and I'll vote for anyone over anyone else who's willing to increase my taxes. So I'm not going to vote for anyone who's willing to increase my taxes, even by 1 cent. And by doing this, they're destroying the future for young people who are living paycheck to paycheck, minimum wage, who are going into medical debt. And you have this demographic who are doing this because they don't want to pay one extra cent in taxes. He gets the working class, but unfortunately not enough. And something I think was quite sad was that turnout was lower than 2016. Now, I don't know whether it was because of the day. Many young people couldn't take time off and go to vote in the primaries. But, this is depressing because it's the young people who are suffering if the wrong politicians are in charge. young people need to get out and vote. And until we have voting by smartphone, they have to get off their asses and they have to go to a polling booth. And many of them don't bother. They think, well, somebody else will do it, or, oh, well, it's not cool, or I'd prefer to be on Facebook or something. No, not Facebook. That's not young people. That's older people. I prefer to be on Snapchat or TikTok or whatever. And they don't go and vote. And then after, they realize later in life, oh, if I had voted, perhaps the situation would have been better. Now I'm not able to buy a house. Now I'm not able to save any money. Now I'm not able to cover my healthcare costs. And you sort of get what you vote for. And if you don't vote, then you get, by default, someone else. So maybe I should revise what I said before about not voting, but I can understand if the choice is bad, but Bernie was the best choice for young people. They had no reason not to vote for Bernie. I understand in the general, many people will say, look, I'm going to stay at home. Facebook, now you sound like Biden. Yes, I'm showing my age by talking about Facebook. Okay, let's just continue and see. We'll just listen to what else. Give the voting system to Facebook. What could go wrong? Oh, can you imagine? Look, I see Uncle Joe. No, not Joe Biden. Uncle Pat voted 25 times on the same candidate.
Who are part of the Democratic establishment, not the voters, the establishment, who quite literally would rather have a second term of Trump than a first term of Bernie Sanders. That exists. So I'm not talking to them because they're lost causes. They represent their lobbyists, their special interests, the donors, and the billionaires. They're representing the corporate interests. So I'm not talking to them. They're a lost cause. What I'm talking to is the voter out there who even might consider themselves a moderate, a centrist. The voters out there who are like, I'm not the biggest fan of Bernie Sanders. Okay. But is this really what you want up against Trump? To the extent that you actually believe the most important thing is to get rid of Donald Trump, as we've heard so many people say, to the extent that you actually believe that, you cannot have Joe Biden go up against Donald Trump. Trump is a giant favorite in that race for a variety of reasons. Just so everybody understands, Trump is already going at it with Joe. And he's already showed his line of attack. He has now repeatedly said Joe Biden should be in a home somewhere.
And that's going to work. Joe Biden should be in a home somewhere. Not that I agree with that, but, as soon as Joe Biden slips up, Donald Trump will point to him and say he should be in a home. And people will laugh, and it will resonate with voters. And they'll be saying, oh, maybe Donald Trump is right. But people will forget for a moment what Donald Trump represents. And they'll just see Donald Trump, who is no human specimen to represent humanity, versus someone who is suffering a mental, collapse, cognitive decline. And who are they going to say, well, look, I don't like Donald Trump, but, I don't want to take a risk. And it's sad that the entire Democrat Party, the Democrats, the DNC, and the voters are throwing their lot behind Joe Biden, because he really is not the candidate to go up against Trump.
He said it at multiple rallies and speeches that he's given. Joe Biden, he should be in a home somewhere. He should be in a home somewhere. He's not all there right now. Somebody said on Twitter, Trump is going to go in the debates with Joe Biden, railroad him, call him Senile Joe, and then he's going to win in a landslide. I gotta tell you guys, man, with his mind in this kind of state, there's literally a debate to be had. Would you rather have somebody who philosophically disagrees with you massively, but is all there mentally, or somebody who agrees with you more philosophically, but is having severe cognitive decline? Who would you?
And that's just what I said. who would you vote for? Even though you don't like Trump, you would say, look, at least he's there. Not completely, but he's more there than Joe Biden. And that's, a possible outcome. Terry James says Warren has to endorse Sanders by Monday. And this is really depressing also. I don't mean to bring the entire feeling back down. Maybe we should go back to our Brexit friend before. But yes. So in 2016, Bernie Sanders asked Elizabeth Warren, I want you to run. You should run as a candidate. And she refused. So Bernie said, I will run instead. And then when Bernie was looking for an endorsement, Elizabeth Warren said, no, I'm going to give my endorsement to Hillary Clinton. Why? Because she believed Hillary is going to win against Trump, and all of us believed that, most of us did. And she was hoping to get a cabinet seat. Of course, that didn't materialize. But so just think about it for a second. Bernie said, you should run. She decided not to. And Bernie was like, if you run, I'll completely support you. I'll campaign for you. I don't want to run as a candidate, but if you do it, you have my full backing. And then as soon as Hillary was in the lead, Warren jumped and said, yeah, I'm going to support Hillary. So Bernie was stabbed in the back, not just by the DNC later on, but by Elizabeth Warren. And now she's sitting on the fence. And, why doesn't she come out and say, I'm going to support Bernie? Even though, look, if Biden is the candidate, if he's the nominee, he's going to lose. So you're not going to lose a cabinet position. But at this stage, do you not have any principles left to say, look, I'll support the guy who shares, my platform, who shares the same policies as I care about, Bernie Sanders. But I don't think she's going to do that. I think she's going to probably do nothing, or she's going to support Joe Biden. But I could be wrong. But if I was a betting man, that's what I'd put my money. I understand that registering to vote, okay. Not voting should go against your credit rating. That's get the fuckers out. Yeah, you can always spoil your vote if you really disagree with both candidates, but you should vote. I would vote against Trump no matter the mental state or physical health of the alternative. I understand that, Mark, but most people would not do that because you're voting on policy because you care about the policies. Did Bernie Sanders know that this is going to be the only time she stabbed him in the back? Did he know he was the calendar? It must be terrible. I feel really sorry for Bernie because he's a good guy. He cares about people. He's not running this campaign to, I want to be president because I want to be king of the world, or I want to make lots of money. He's doing it because he cares about ordinary people. He wants them to have health care. And he's looking likely to be stabbed in the back again. We've already been taken by Republicans, and Mitch McConnell is terrible. I hope Mitch McConnell is removed, in the next in November. I don't know if his seat is going to be up for grabs, but I hope he does lose his seat. Pity Warren and Sanders had such a spat. Non-declaration may suggest a bidding war. Her price would possibly be VP. I think if Bernie gave her the VP spot, it would boost him. But he has talked about putting a woman of color on instead. I was thinking he might put on Nina Turner as his VP. But I don't know whether he'd go through with that. Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss. You the best. 20 countries, fine if you don't vote. Excuse me, the corona is kicking in. Val, which country? I know Switzerland for sure. Is Denmark another one? I'm not sure if Denmark is another one that forces you to vote. In North Korea, probably also you have to vote. But there's only one candidate. But why doesn't he insist on calling himself a socialist? I don't understand that, Night Raven. Also because I don't see... Okay, people have corrected... Well, so I've said on Twitter, look, Bernie Sanders is not a socialist. He's a social democrat. He's like, a moderate here in Europe. He's not a socialist. And people have said, well, in the 80s, he was a socialist. His policies were socialist. But none of the policies he's putting forward are socialist. The closest you could get is he's being supportive of co-ops. But that's a very, very mild version of socialism. Look up on Google. Okay. That's me. Schooled. Don't forget to click like. Yes, please do click the like button. Smash the like button. It helps the stream. It helps more people come in. Let's get a big family, keep the family big and strong. Bernie's big mistake was to call himself a socialist, I suppose, by US standards. He is, by the notion of healthcare system, is not the most radical suggestion ever. It has been attempted. John F. Kennedy was talking about having something similar back in the 1960s. So it's not something radical. Radical is normally something new that hasn't been tried before. But it's been tried and has been proven to work in other countries. Yeah, socialist is merely a term of abuse. They were calling Barack Obama a socialist. And also in 2012, when he had started to implement Obamacare, which is a right-wing. It was developed by a right-wing think tank. Use the interweb, Max. I'm old. I don't know how to use the interweb. Have any of you ever tried to... I'm going off topic completely here, but have you ever tried to explain the internet to an old person? I was explaining to my dad. My dad is almost 80, and I was explaining about how I read something on the news, and he said, "How did you know about that?" Because it was something on local news where he lives. And I said, "I read about it on the internet." "What? But how did they put that up there?" Like, okay, I'm not going to explain. Do you have it? We need a 3-hour phone call. Did you know that the English GDP is only as it is due to trade gold? 50% in fact. Train crash ahead. Fantastic name. I don't know how much the GDP is represented by gold. That would be terrible if on the 1st of January, Boris Johnson is attempting to, smuggle gold out of the country in the boot of a car or something like that. In the 70s, UK Liberals favoured cooperatives. Spain has had some success with them. It's hardly Marxism, yes, though they do come in different shapes and sizes, yeah. It's just, so if you're not familiar, cooperative is just where the workers run the company. And they're normally small businesses, they're not big enterprises. And there are a lot of rules and regulations in order to have them in relation to taxes and that. But they have worked out quite successfully. I'm not all that familiar with them, but just from what I know that they do work quite well. They're not immune to problems, of course, but generally, if the people working for the company feel that they have something to benefit from the company doing well, then why not why not support that? Gordon Brown sold all the gold years ago. Yeah, I remember that. What did they actually do with all the, like, they sold the gold for what? To fix the economy. In some languages, socialist translate communist. I have confusing conversations with non-native English speakers. No, you're right. And I'm not even a good expert on the differences between communist and socialist. I just know that there are different degrees. On those issues, I'm extremely ignorant. Lenny Harry, they will destroy the UK with their politics. You should see the video with Graham Hughes talk with an English MEP on how the politics works. Shall we talk about Gibraltar? Things have gotten a bit too calm in here. Hit the like button, yes. Let's just finish the video and then we can move on to another one.
Would you rather pick? There's a serious question there. That's not an easy question. Because, you could argue the cognitive decline represents a more clear and present danger than any kind of disagreement philosophically, even if that disagreement philosophically will have bad consequences. Will it be worse than somebody who is in the state that Joe Biden's in? Debate that amongst yourselves. But this is really, really, really bad. Joe Biden needs help. Joe Biden is unelectable. So this is my plea to people, even who might say, I don't like Bernie Sanders. Okay, but he's all there mentally. You could disagree with him, but he's sharp as a tack. So you cannot go Joe Biden. You cannot go Joe Biden. I don't ask this often. I don't know if I asked this.
Okay, and then he finishes the video. So watch the video from Sky News about English gold trade. People will get a shock. Crackerman, welcome to the stream. So we've been watching Kyle Kalinske. Why are we watching Kyle Kalinske? So he's been talking about how Joe Biden is suffering from cognitive decline. Joe needs to drop out. Democratic socialism versus socialism for the rich. Exactly, yes. He also needed to pay off the national debt. So use the gold to pay off the national debt. It's a bit like using the family silver to pay off the gambling debt. No more Kyle Kalinske, the lad progressive. He may not be wrong, but tends to prolong his nasal whining. So sorry, Kyle fans. Very good. Steve-O Timothy, the video title, When You Start Selling Irish Passports to the British. I have to be careful with the videos that I put up because I got some copyright information, copyright problems the last time I uploaded some. I shared some videos here, so but I will check it out, I promise. So I think we'll do another 5 minutes on the stream. What I'll do is, as before, I'll leave the stream running so you guys can argue amongst yourselves, and we have some very tough moderators here, so they will kick out anyone who doesn't behave. Remember Occupy Wall Street? What happened to that movement? It was infiltrated by, I don't like to use the term SJWs, but SJWs, people who wanted to redirect it in a direction they wanted, and it collapsed eventually. I think it's a problem we have on the left is that we get bogged down on wedge issues. We get bogged down on issues that, this movement doesn't have enough women in it, then we need to invite more women in, and then that creates problems, like people disagree. Or we don't have enough trans people, or we don't have enough people of color, we don't have enough of this, and then it create the the goal of the movement changes to support something else, and then the people who originally started become tired and they leave, and then it eventually collapses. And this is something you don't see on the right. People on the right remain focused on their objective, while we on the left tend to get sidetracked quite a lot. You missed the first part. UK bought some gold. Oh, I just scroll up again. Sorry, a little bit. You missed for UK bought some gold, but from the sale we bought other stuff, stocks and currencies, and made some money. Made more money than the rise in gold prices. Well then that was a good investment. So that'd be like selling the family silver for gold and then the price of gold going up and then selling it and making a profit. Max forgot to mention the Ireland-Scotland bridge apparently has morphed into a tunnel. I follow a guy as a sort of parody account from Northern Ireland, and he was talking about this bridge as well. And so this idea of building a bridge between Scotland and Northern Ireland, and now it's allegedly it's morphed into a tunnel. Okay. But if Scotland and Northern Ireland are going to leave the Union, why is Boris Johnson so fixated on building a tunnel or a bridge originally? I don't understand this. I really don't understand. I saw a program where it showed China was using recovered patients to volunteer to help those infected. Not sure. Oh my God. To volunteer, yes, in quotes. Even the USSR was not communist in the real sense, but state command capitalism. China has just reverted to its central authoritarianism, yes. In Denmark, we have social democracy. All try to get parties to vote for laws. So they discuss any laws before the vote. It's a perfect situation where the parties are not partisan. You know, they look at the policy and say, is this a good policy? Yes. That's the way politics should be. It shouldn't be, I'm going to vote with my party. I'm going to vote on the policy. And if the policy is good, I'll vote for it. If it's not good, I won't vote for it. Has the calendar come to boo? Yes, we're keeping the calendar off topic. Any news of it since last week? No. But I have some... maybe in the next stream I'll have a nice little surprise for all of you. But it's a surprise, so I can't say. Copyright would make an interesting topic to discuss. The wasted opportunity of not being able to reuse human invention versus to protect the originators. Yes, so that's an interesting one, Wee Scott's Dog. So what do you think about copyright protection? So, for example, if let's take Kyle Kalinske for example. So what I did was I showed Kyle Kalinski's video, and I commented on it, calendar, and I commented on it. It's Creative Commons, so that means that I can use it without risk of copyright. But should he be able to say, no, you're not allowed to use this because this is my content that it was created. I shouldn't be able to critique it. I should have to create new content. What do you think about that? Max is avoiding the calendar. You guys have said you want a calendar, but you didn't say what type of calendar. On 5th of March 2020, on the Scottish Parliament YouTube channel, to see Boris's Scottish secretary lying about migrant workers in Scotland. Is there something called Adrian Wall? That was clearly fair use. Well, if we were not Scottish, I would be Danish. Copyright is ownership by another name. There should be a patent X amount of time that is leaving. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So you have it also with old video footage, old music, that there is it's protected for, I think it's 70 years, and then after that it can be copied or reused. Nintendo originally wanted to make a video game with Popeye, but couldn't because of copyright, and as a result created a new character, Mario. We had a calendar with dates on it. You created a transformative piece of work because you commented and critiqued it. That counts as fair use and hence not subject to sanction under the MCA. But before, I don't know if you were here, but I did do some videos before. We watched the video and I commented on it. But I did receive copyright, not a strike. It was infringement. There was a copyright infringement where they don't bring down your channel, but you're not allowed to monetize. And I don't monetize the streams, but if I was to make a video related to that, I wouldn't be allowed to monetize. Also, I don't monetize the stream as well because I talk about a lot of different things in here, and I wouldn't like to get into trouble with YouTube. But for example, I don't expect to be receiving copyright infringement for Kyle Kalinske or The Sun. But for the other ones, I did receive a copyright infringement notice. You can make creating content easily. Make a fake mustache app on the people in the video, and that's creative content. I don't know if it works like that. Perhaps, though. 75 years after the death of the writer. You guys are so much more informed than I am. Jimbo, they are talking about a ferry from Edinburgh to Esbjerg, Denmark. The former place for the ferry to Harwich is still in place. There was some talk some years ago about having Scotland join Scandinavia. What would you Scots think about that? So if Scotland became an independent country but then joined Scandinavia, so it became part of Denmark, Sweden and etc. Just don't say bad things about Metallica. Yes. This is what YouTube does. It allows, because it is a private platform and not subject to First Amendment protections, but nevertheless a DMCA takedown strike would be illegal. North Sea too choppy. Okay, so I'll just do another 2 minutes on this stream and then I'll let you guys go. Some people should give up the hammer and sickle. There's already a ferry between Rosie and Zerburg. When you and your viewers here comment on the video, then it's clear case of fair use. You can check out Leonard French's videos in the Awful Masses channel. Okay. I'm going to stay in Scotland for a while to see if we get the referendum and independence. If no independence for Scotland, then I will go and live in Scandinavian country, to be honest. Yes, we're already pretty close to many things with the Scandinavians. Scotland is more Scandinavian than English. Wouldn't being Scandinavian require speaking a Scandinavian language? Not necessarily, I don't think. And Ireland, Scotland, Denmark tunnel would be great, and get England to pay for it. Baby Yoda 2020. I love Baby Yoda. I've been watching this guy called Rick Beato, who did a YouTube video about a Beatles future. He plays it, pauses to explain the phrasing, instrumental, and copyright owners then slap him. I actually, and this isn't, the other day, I told you guys, some of you guys at the beginning, I have a record player, and my wife bought an old copy of, I think it was on Amazon, I don't know, it was actually really cheap. It was an old copy of Glenn Miller, and it was a Saturday evening, and it was raining, and I said, oh, this is fantastic. I made a short video of the record player playing Glenn Miller, and I put it up on Facebook, and I said nothing more relaxing than sitting on the sofa listening to Glenn Miller, and I received a copyright infringement claim from Sony, and they muted the video. Now, they said they muted the video. I could listen to it. Some people after told me, actually, no, we could hear the music. But I received it wasn't the entire song. It was about 20 or 30 seconds. Me doing a video with my phone of the record player playing Glenn Miller. And I received an infringement claim from Sony. It was really weird. Hi, Leon. Denmark is expert in tunnels. We flooded one. At one time. It took months to fix it. Scottish Parliament has passed laws for all residents in Scotland to be allowed to vote. So it's not, you don't need to be a citizen, but you can be just a resident. Okay. At the monthly trip to buy crap from the car boot sale. Bad Max infringing poor Sony copyrights. But it was weird because it was Facebook. You know, I could understand on YouTube because, you know, you can monetize it on YouTube. But on Facebook, I don't think you can. Well, you can monetize things on Facebook, but it's much more difficult than YouTube. What's going on in the IPO field is a total disgrace, but then Disney needs to to be protected. That's what I thought, but YouTube stream system, he explains, set up to favor the copyright ones. So he gets 3 strikes. Then he has to engage lawyers, I guess. Little guy versus big group, yes. Disney is what's driving the copyright extension in the US. Wasn't someone in the US? I'm trying to remember. I remember some years ago in Scotland, somebody had opened a restaurant called McDonald's, because in Scotland, and they were asked by McDonald's to close it down. I don't know if they won the case or not, but I know in America there was something related to Disney, but I don't remember exactly the name. It's true the Scandinavian has wisdom. It's called Nightwish in their language. The Dover ferries is made so that they can be changed in a month to overnight ferries. They can be used from Ireland to France. So what do you guys think of what I don't know if you saw the video I uploaded today about Boris Johnson refusing to thank the first responders and the volunteers during the floods. It was actually quite interesting because I received a lot of comments on the channel by people saying, no, well, these people, that was their job. They didn't need to be thanked. Yes, but the Queen thanks people for, I don't know, running a soup kitchen. And nothing against people running a soup kitchen. But, you know, if the Queen is giving medals to people for doing this, can't Boris Johnson at least say thank you to these people? Sainsbury's. Copyrighted calendar. Damn you guys and this damn calendar. Sainsbury's. Oh, that's fantastic. So the Asian guy who opened the store called Sainsbury's. I wish it was disgusting. I hope you mean disgusting the action of Boris Johnson and not my response. They did write it down. They voted it down because it included an act of scrutiny by Parliament. That was the reason. Yeah. But it doesn't look very good, does it? And also, if you... many first responders are volunteers, you know, and if people have to, you know, what's wrong with being scrutinized? If you did a good job, then you have nothing to complain about. Boris Johnson and his government would be the type of people who would say, well, you know, if the police are arresting you, it means you've done something wrong. If you've done nothing wrong, then you have no worries about the police coming and knocking down your door. Bojo is disgusting, yes. A lot of Scandinavian influence in Scottish language, not surprising given history of invasion, but some through of English as though I'm no language expert. Could be talking pish. I know UK EU law. It was a big part of my degree and work, but I'm friends with Leonard French. Very interesting. Guys, QA Library knows everyone and everything more than the CIA. Let me see if I can open your link. I think I'll have to open the link later. Glasgow Kiss. Listerine was marketed as a post-surgical antiseptic, then a floor cleaner. Then a cure for gonorrhea before successful as a breath freshener. Wow. What a Morris sings. Not the US talking about Creative Commons anyway. Such a crying shame. How about an historical dress calendar, Max, Spartan, and such like? Oh, well, I'm not... Spartan is a bit too before my time. Okay, guys, so I need to go. It's been a fantastic stream once again. I really like, you know, this new format. You know, we can watch a video together and I can comment and get your comments. I really like that style. So I'm going to have a look at some content maybe for next week as well. So have a great night. Thanks for everyone for coming on the stream. Thanks for the super chats. for all of your comments and your jokes and your funny stories. So I'll see all of you next week if there are no technical problems and if I'm still surviving the situation. So have a great one and have a great night, you guys. Thanks.